Welcome, everyone, to our webinar today called Seek and Find Strategies for Discovering Tomorrow's FM Talent. We have an exciting cast of panelists today that are going to discuss this topic. This topic is brought to you by the IFMA Foundation. So the International Facility Management Foundation works to drive educational and workforce programs that help ensure a robust pipeline for future facility managers and brings together aligned parties toward our common goal whenever possible. So today we have our first guest, Peter Hilger. Peter Hilger is an architect by training, a builder by passion, and a teacher at heart. Peter Hilger is a faculty director and senior lecturer at the University of Minnesota's Construction and Facility Management program, where he's taught and mentored the next workforce for 28 years. During that time, Peter developed the facility management program there, and he guided the development of academic outcomes for the facility management accreditation. He's volunteered his time as an accreditor for both IFMA Foundation and now the ABET and both the ABET accreditation for both the FM and construction management programs. Due to continuing challenges of enrollment in facility management, he helped develop a real estate certificate and minor program that launches in the fall of 2025. It's serving as kind of a backdoor in through the real estate program for a facility management profession. He's going to tell us a little bit about that later. Still as a practicing architect, he's a graduate of Georgia Tech and the University of Oregon, go Ducks, and is known to do crazy things like ride his bicycle from Chicago to New York, presumably to visit Regina Cahill, our esteemed foundation colleague. Next, we have Laura Magnuson. Laura Magnuson is the Director of Real Estate and Facilities. She's responsible for Security Financial's owned corporate campus in downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. She's also responsible for a portfolio of leased offices across the U.S. and Canada. She enjoys working with her team to develop real estate strategies, advance the workplace and meeting evolving business needs, and provide all who interact with the built environment with an exceptional experience. Laura has worked in the Twin Cities corporate real estate market for over 20 years and is an active member of the Minneapolis-St. Paul chapter of IFMA. She is also serving on the board of directors and is the University of Minnesota's Construction and Facility Management Advisory Board. Thank you very much, Laura. Next, we have Peggy McCarthy. Peggy McCarthy, well known in IFMA circles and an IFMA fellow, she's a retired associate director from the University of Minnesota, where she managed staff and operations and maintenance for approximately 3 million square feet of medical research, academic, residential, and associated facilities. Peggy, I don't know how you do it. Previously, Peggy served as a senior director of EMA Incorporated, an international consulting firm. Over her 25 years, she's led real estate acquisition, leasing, design, construction staffing, and office operations. In 2013, Peggy co-founded the Facilitathon Competition, a national outreach initiative dedicated to engaging the next generation of facility managers, so think younger student level. It's now incorporated as FM Pipeline, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Facilitathon competition has expanded now to 19 states through the Skills USA program. As Facilitathon celebrates its 10-year anniversary, Peggy continues to play a vital role in developing materials, expanding the competition, and fostering leadership development and exposure to facility management careers. Thank you, Peggy. Next, we have Tim Burge, another esteemed IFMA colleague. We have a lot of that today. He is a facilities management consultant at Siska Hennessy Group, a global leader in engineering consulting for the built environment. With over 18 years of experience as an associate partner in science and technology, Tim has led client strategies in flexibility, electrification, speed to market, and decarbonization. My goodness, Tim. Ensuring solutions are sustainable, scalable, and maintainable. Oh, so very important. Tim holds a Master of Science in Facility Management with honors from the Pratt Institute. He's also an IFMA FMP, holds the FMP credential, and is an IFMA qualified instructor. He received IFMA's Award of Excellence in 2019 for his contributions to the industry. As the president-elect of the Greater New York chapter of IFMA, Tim continues to drive innovation, collaboration, and sustainability, reshaping how we design, manage, and optimize the built environment. Welcome, Tim. And then finally, we have Keisha Mackey Lawrence. Keisha is a corporate influencer, yet another, my goodness, five very, very amazing people. Human resource director with more than 20 years of experience. As the HR director for ESFM, the self-performing facility management division of Compass Group USA, she drives a people-first culture that maximizes potential and business performance. Keisha's experience spans employee relations, employment law, talent acquisition, leadership development, coaching, and compliance. She holds a master's certificate in HR management from Villanova University. So I'm Laurie Gilmer, by the way. I'm a past chair of IFMA and your host today. I am standing in the presence of a quite amazing panel. So we are going to be talking about different parts of the facility management ecosystem today, the challenges that we have in finding and kind of cultivating talent. So we'll talk through that. I have some questions that we'll use, and our panelists are going to weigh in with their experience as well as their ideas for where we're at now and how do we go forward and what can we learn from their experience. And as you can see, it's this varied experienced panel from those who are in education, those who have influenced kids who may find FM as a career of choice, to those who are hiring and working in the FM field. So thank you everyone for being here today. I'm going to start with our first question. I'd love to hear about your most challenging barriers in relating and engaging individuals for facility management, education, training, and career. So how do we get people into FM? Peggy, do you want to start us out maybe with that kid perspective, thinking Facilithon and some of your experience there?
Sure will. After more than 30 years as an active facility manager and involvement with different facility management professional organizations and activities, and helping to get some schooling programs started with accrediting, I became involved with, as a co-founder of an outreach to high school and post-secondary students, but primarily high school students, through an organization called Skills USA. And we call it the Facilithon, and with it, we developed an opportunity to reach out and connect our facility managers in the industry to students in the high school environment. And it's been really exciting, and we've had some great success. We're excited about the future. In fact, Laurie, we've been in 20 states this year. There was one more that we didn't even know about that has come on board. So we're really looking forward to taking this opportunity into talking to students. And basically, it's just a short introduction program that gives them a chance to get a view of the breadth of facility management, as well as learn about the opportunities and the directions and the variety of ways of coming and going into facility management that we've experienced over the years.
So you're definitely helping with that kind of exposure barrier, a little bit of a maybe lack of awareness if kids don't know about it. This is a really great.
I think that the largest problem we've had over the years, Laurie, is the fact that people don't know what facility management is. Whether you're talking about our friends and our families, or sometimes even co-workers in other part of our organizations. And so we decided that we need to start with the younger generation and begin to spread the word as to what facility management is about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, you work in the college sector. So what are you seeing in terms of barriers, challenges, getting that awareness out about facility management as a career?
Well, it's a challenge at the university level to get students even interested in the concept of facility management, because they don't really know what it is. And so most of our students that have gone through our facility management program have actually done it as what we call adult learners, people that have come back to the university in order to get their skills in facility management. So what this tells us is, and what we have found out, is that the whole label of facility management just doesn't resonate with most of the college students, traditional college age students that we see. as a result, we've had a big challenge sustaining enrollment in the program. However, we found that those adult learners, the ones that are coming back to school to either finish a degree or to get a job promotion, are the ones that are most interested in facilities because they've had an exposure to it. Their prior degree might be in, Elizabethan poetry or something like that, and we all know how that goes. So finding their path and then needing some education to go with it has been of greater success for us. And so you've heard me say, or I've mentioned to people from the academic realm, is that sometimes education is wasted on the young, and that you don't know what you really want to do until you are out in the world, and all of a sudden you discover that thing. So that's what I would say my challenges have been, is just to get people interested in facility management as a career option.
Yeah. And Keisha, how about you've got a perspective on sort of the finding of people?
It's not an attractive name.
Oops.
Can you hear me? Okay. It's not an attractive
we can hear you.
name. Okay. So when you say facilities management, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, what is that? Right? It's not something so attractive out there in the field. And so those are one of the challenges that we have, when you're looking at job descriptions, et cetera, exactly what is FM, what is facilities management. However, it is a field that is trending today in America, knowing that a lot of people are going back into the education world to make sure they have the resources and the skill set to come into the workplace. So we are seeing an upkick in the trend of the FM world.
That's exciting to hear. I'm so glad to hear that maybe that's changing a little bit. So if we're thinking about recruiting and kind of the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, people who are coming up in those generations that are behind us, kind of the current generations, and we think about evolving technology, changes in facility management, it is the ever evolving profession. It sort of started out with very basic things and has continued to take on more and more responsibility. As technology changes, there's more adaptation and involvement needed and engagement with technology. How do your education approaches and or your recruiting approaches need to change to account for those kinds of changes?
So it is a very competitive market with the generation that's coming up. They're so tech savvy, right? And technology is a big thing right now. However, in the FM world, I mean, sometimes people just think that facilities management is just like an engineering component, but the one thing also about FM, there's a support services component there too as well. That ties it into that FM world. So AI, being innovated in what we do in the workplace is what's helping to attract the new generation that's coming up into the workplace, those Gen Zs folks. So realigning ourselves not only with technology, but also with creativity and that innovation to bring them into the workplace.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Tim, as you think about, I'd like to push this one over to you a little bit, as you think about that sort of how we create awareness to those who are coming next, and highlight to students. You're definitely a practitioner in the field. You're also someone who's very involved in an IFMA chapter. So what do you see in terms of that engagement and letting people know about the field and how we pull people in, let them know?
Well, first, I agree with everything everybody's saying. Awareness is definitely the biggest hurdle. And I think that there's awareness that needs to happen on a couple of different levels, and a couple of different streams, whether it be military veterans transitioning, whether it be folks just trying to find a second career and just making awareness to FM as a career choice, or even if it's just college students, and even, to Peggy's point earlier, high school students. We've done a pretty solid job of making that our focus, making that the first pass of awareness is getting to the younger generations, primarily because, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're digital natives, right? They're drawn for the most part to careers that would involve some sense of innovation or sustainability or impact. And I think facility management already offers this through, smart building systems, decarbonization strategies, and to Keisha's point, AI driven operations. But we have to communicate that in their language, right? So I think even further, not just touching on those things, but even doing it in a way to kind of reframe FM as a high tech, high impact profession, but deliver that message through the right channels, whether that be short form video, TikToks, a gamified learning as example, or even some type of immersive digital tool. And we try and tie ourselves to that here at IFMA Greater New York City in our presentations. We're not just talking about HVAC and maintenance and operations. We talk about FM, how it powers resiliency and performance in the built environment and as a facilitator of change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Peter, you had some interesting things to say when we were talking earlier about technology and its use as a tool, and sort of not the end, but a thing that we use to get us where we need to go. Do you want to go down that path just a little bit?
Well, yeah, one thing, the technology is great, and yes, the younger generation are definitely digital natives, but facility management is also a thinking person's game. That you have to be thinking, you have to be thinking strategically. It's putting puzzles together. It's not always about just sitting behind a keyboard, and it's engaging with people. And so that is something that I think a lot of the younger people do struggle with. And what I do find is, especially those that are coming through universities now that went to high school through COVID, they just don't have some of those social skills to work with others other than through technology. And so it's very much something that we put a lot of emphasis in on our program is that human interaction. So it's a challenge. That's all I can say. Balancing technology with that thinking piece, the leadership skills, if you will, that go along with facility management is critical.
Sure, definitely something to be cultivated. When we think about who we partner with, are there people in your various roles that you've seen, whether it's HR, practitioner, education, or facilitathon, when you think about people that we partner with to overcome some of our challenges of drawing people in, letting them know what FM is, the sort of changing nature of advancing technology, and to Peter's point, the sort of thinking person's game versus it's just kind of the latest tech, but also recognizing that tech is advancing, changing, and is sometimes an attractive way to draw someone in. Are there what other stakeholders are out there that we've partnered with or we should be partnered with in engaging folks and letting them know about facility management opportunities?
You want me to take? I can
Go
jump
ahead.
in.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Jump on in, Tim.
I was just going to say the most obvious for me as a chapter leader would be the IFMA Foundation as a partner, right? One of the most effective strategies we had, particularly during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, was when we partnered with the IFMA Foundation. They had reached out to our chapter with an opportunity to support an organization called Hot Bread Kitchen, which was a nonprofit training program for women in food service. And we had stepped in to teach them the essentials of facility management, which then introduced these women to a field they had never considered. And it was that single engagement that then had a ripple effect because it led to deeper collaborations with the foundation, where we now started getting conversations going with LaGuardia Community College, which will now have officially launched a new associate's degree in FM later this year. So that program exists because of that partnership, because a community-based organization helped identify a workforce need and knew IFMA could help meet it, right? Beyond that, I think we recognize that building a talent pipeline means influencing the influencers, right? That's why we've expanded our awareness efforts to reach out to those who do the advising, particularly within high schools. And when it comes to high school students, right, we want those high school guidance counselors to be very well versed in all the benefits of facility management as a career path so that they can do the advocating for us when our ambassadors aren't there. Same thing with community college advisors, local workforce agencies, and even unemployment offices, right? Somebody's going to collect an unemployment check. They have to report to somebody who wants to know what they're looking at. They're in a position to advise. These are the people. These are the students and job seekers. That's where they're turning for direction. And many of them simply don't know that facility management is a high opportunity, high growth, tech-enabled profession. So we've made it a point to educate these advisors, and in some cases offering them materials, hosting sessions, and engaging with them as partners. I mean, it's one thing to tell students, that FM is a great career. It's another to make sure that the people advising them understand why, and they have the language and tools to recommend it with confidence. So that's where we're focusing, not just on the awareness, but systems level awareness that scales through those trusted partnerships, again, particularly with the IFMA Foundation.
Yeah, I love that. So it's not just a one-to-one, who are the people that we're targeting for a future career, but who are those who are out there in talking with those potential new people. Yeah, that's a great strategy. Others of you, Laura or Peggy or Peter or Keisha. Keisha, I know you have a lot to say on some of these topics with how do we bring people in? How do we engage them and overcome some of those challenges, but also, again, use those others. Are there others we should be talking to in addition to things like career advisors and counselors? And certainly have great resources through the foundation.
I would offer that people that are working in facility management right now need to keep their eyes on people within the organization that could possibly be interested in it. A lot of future facility managers could actually be sitting just down the hall. And it's whether or not you can detect that they have the potential skills, because they're already familiar with the organization to some degree. They may not even be aware of it within the organization as what you do. They may be working in some other department, but they might have the skills or demonstrate the skills that just a little bit of education and mentoring within the organization could serve. One of my students right now, who's just getting ready to graduate this May, is a classic example of this, that had no idea what facility management was. But his boss had introduced him to the idea, we need somebody to do this for our company, which had a global presence. And it was an upstart company and in the sort of data management field. And he took him up on it and came back to school to get the education, to get the degree he needed. But he was right there. He was homegrown. And so I think sometimes it's an overlooked opportunity, is just those people that are sitting right near us.
You would say we call it, oh, go ahead.
I want to piggyback on that, Peter, because even within the organization that I work with, ESFM, we have a great mentorship program. And so that's how people also can get affiliated. What's FM? How do we get them involved into this career too as well? So even something so simple, but yet so powerful within the workplace, you have it in the universities. We actually have an apprenticeship program with one of our cross sectors. And we are, partnering up with them to make sure that our folks get that information too. And the apprenticeship program, it's all around FM. So to have that due diligence as yourself too as well, find out what's going on within your area or within your employer and see what they offer. A lot of these programs are actually free.
To follow up a little bit on Tim and something he commented on in regards to reaching out to counselors. I think that's a great step, Tim. But if you can get those counselors to get you to be able to talk to the teachers, The teachers seem to be the ones who spend the time with the students. They seem to be the ones who really get to know them well enough that they can identify, are they really kind of that 1 out of 4 that needs the variety, that will strive and really be challenged by the opportunities that are open to them, the problem solving that's needed. The teachers, I think, could add to your outreach considerably if you can find a way to get to them.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. We're actually trying to take it a step further. We meet with the New York City Public Schools. They have an industry commission, and so we sit on a commission for architecture, engineering, and construction, and we're actively talking with them to advise them on curriculum choices. And it's a slow play, but it's a matter of time before our goal is to see that there's some FM-based curriculum included in these STEM school type programs that we're working on. So, absolutely. And yeah, it's across all channels for sure.
Is anyone doing anything like inviting people to World Workplace, something like that? I know we have students that come for competitions and things. Anything like that that you're seeing successes in? Those of you who are in the workplace environment, is that an avenue that you've had good success in? Getting head nods.
Yeah, yes. We actually have something called the GOAL program in our organization that's dedicated to FM. It stands for Global University Lifelong Program, and it's all around FM. Everything that has to do with FM, what we call hard services, the engineering maintenance component of it, and also soft services, right? More of that client-facing hospitality aspect of FM, which FM does have it's all about hospitality, by the way, too, as well. And what this does is that it takes what we call our frontline associates, which are hourly associates that are pretty junior in what they do, but they want to grow into this FM world and become the next director, managers, facilities coordinators. And it's a whole semester. And then from there, they jump to other advanced programs within the sector that we have. So and I am seeing a lot of employers, as well as I do a lot of networking with other employers for FM, having these programs because we have that need to continue to invest. So just as Peter and Tim and his association, Peter and the university, you're investing in that world, but employers are also seeing the need to continue to invest in FM while folks are still working too. So it's an ongoing process. It doesn't just stop at that level.
Excellent point. Thank you for that. I'd like to press into that a little bit more as we think about, I'm going to call this sort of the how do you engage and develop people kind of question. Are there aspects of the career pathway that resonate more with today's students and young professionals that that inform how industry should market itself or how we frame and develop workforce development initiatives? What should we be thinking about doing differently in the future? So for those of you where you've had successes, where others maybe are thinking, how do I attract people? How do I identify those people? What resonates more with kids? We've hit on a little bit of it, but if we could just circle on that one.
One of the things you mentioned in my intro was the fact that if you were to put side by side real estate and facility management and ask people to choose which one sounds more exciting, real estate's going to win every single time, okay? Every single time. Because there's something cool about real estate, So, we've initiated, because our facility management program just doesn't enroll very well, we've created this real estate program. Within the university, it's a standalone minor and certificate program, baccalaureate certificate program. that has been operating sort of in the shadows for 10 years, but it's enrolls steadily. And so we're introducing the building and the owning and managing of facilities within a real estate context rather than within a facility management context. And the hopes that we can draw folks interested in how buildings not only get developed, but how they functionally operate and are managed in an ownership cycle. So that's just one strategy that we're employing just to try to keep them coming.
And I think I can piggyback on that and just kind of share a little bit about my journey to FM. And going into college, was getting an interior design degree, was required to take an intro to interior design and facilities management course, just a simple 1-credit course. And I remember my thoughts about facilities management when I saw that requirement and thinking, who in their right mind goes to school for 4 years to be a facility manager? Thinking, it's more of that janitorial or the wrench, type work. And I went to the first class and walked out saying, I'm double majoring. This is awesome and exactly what I think I want to do. And so had I not been required to take that simple course, I would have never been exposed to facilities management. And if I hadn't, because it was a part of our interior design college, I would have had the wrong bias around it. And so just so appreciative of having to do that. And I think that kind of ties to the Facilitathon too, in working with Peggy through the Facilitathon competitions and having those advisors that push their students to participate in our competition. It's something that they don't know what it is. They're not sure what they're getting into, but they walk away having so much fun. And that exposure that it brings to those students is just amazing to see. And so I think the more that we can, as it was said earlier, have that awareness at the advisor, the teacher level, is really going to help to get the word out about facility management. But I agree with Peter. Had it been a real estate management, intro to interior design and real estate management, I wouldn't have come into it with the mindset that I did, So it's crazy how the words can almost be off-putting, unfortunately, because it's such an amazing career.
I was going to say too, I was going to comment just, I think as facilities professionals, we could, learn a little bit from sales folks, in terms of how we present ourselves or, maybe not so much underselling the profession, so to speak. I think, trying to make that connection with the audience, right, that they can really touch, feel, and relate to what it is that you do is really important, so that they can see that impact. Just an example of some things we've done here in New York when we go talk to a high school student. A lot of times, like most people, they don't know what facility management is. So we put a picture of a building up on the wall, on the screen, just so they can see it. And we ask, what is that? And we get the typical, it's a building. Well, of course it is, but what goes on in there? And when you explain to them that picture of that building is actually Epic's headquarters and how many people play Minecraft, they can start to make the correlation. Okay, so I understand what that company does and what they produce. How does facility management support it? And then we kind of make the argument or the sell or the presentation take that direction, right? That it's a role that really delivers impact. It's tech forward in its environment, and that there's tons, to Peter's point earlier, tons of transferable skills. And most importantly, there's job security and upward mobility, which is something you don't really see a lot at this moment in time. So all those things definitely, I think, are things that can help resonate with students.
I love that. The words really do matter. The words that we use to describe and engage, they matter. It's the difference between it sounding really boring and basic and maybe a wrench turning kind of career that someone's not interested in, to an exciting career that involves engagement and support of something like Epic, where you can get involved. We have an interesting, it's a comment that came across from one of our webinar attendees. Eric says that he's currently in the market looking for an FM role. but he's got 25 years of experience, mostly in residential, and it's been really hard to get a response from companies. Do you have any advice for him in how to, he's someone who's looking at, how do I got the experience, but how do I get a response from companies? What's something that you could maybe offer to Eric and people that might be in his similar capacity?
My first recommendation would be to reach out to your local chapter, your local IFMA chapter. We are very diligent in advocating for folks who are in transition in their facility management roles, those in the profession already trying to find a new job, or those not in the profession trying to get in. We have a very dedicated group of volunteers that do a phenomenal job to help those people. We take a more proactive approach in that, because I think that a lot of times it's, well, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. We don't do that, right? What we do is we set up a system with these people to make it real brief. We look at and ask them to, and all we want to do is let the employer know that this person has applied. Because again, a lot of these jobs that they're applying for, it's into an abyss. They may not really know anybody. And again, that's where the difficulty comes in. I've applied to 30 positions. I haven't heard anything back. So as a chapter, what we do is we leverage our network. We have a big chapter. We have a lot of people that have a lot of relationships, and we leverage that. So we ask those people to let us know where they've applied. What are the top 3 positions of the ones that they've applied? And what we do is we then take those job descriptions and we angle back with all of our army of volunteers to find somebody within our chapter that knows somebody at that organization. And we simply look to connect to the HR manager to say, hey, one of our members is really interested in this position. Would it be possible for you to look at his candidacy? And that's it. And then they can pluck them out of the abyss. So again, leaning on your local chapter, not saying that every chapter goes to the extent that New York does, but definitely being an active part of your local chapter and leveraging their resources in their network, I think is a good way to go.
Excellent
I
point. Thank
couldn't
you.
agree more. Making sure that you're building that network. If you're trying to break into commercial real estate or something else, that you're establishing a network of folks that work in that today. We don't have at our chapter the sophistication that you just described, but I'll tell you, when I'm looking to hire, I know my peers are looking to hire, we're emailing each other and being able to know that there's a position and send it to someone that's looking. That's how a lot of the hiring happens, at least in my peer group.
And I would also, oh, sorry. I would
After
also,
you.
Go ahead, Keisha.
I would also add, look at your resume again, and it might need some tweaking, because in today's world in FM, what we particularly are looking for is more, what the words, they need to be more of action words on your resume. So if you have maybe too much, you might want to scale back a little bit and just review it, and you might have to tweak it a little bit too, based on, how is it that you are expressing your experience on your resume, right? Because when as recruiters or in HR, when we're looking at a resume, we're looking at those words that pop out very quick in reference to experience too as well. So take a look at that. You might need some tweaking. And listen, I'm on LinkedIn. You can always chime me in LinkedIn, and I can tell you what we have available in our organization. And we have a lot of positions available. So you never know.
I was going to say the same thing, Keisha, is that look at the resume, because chances are, especially with somebody with 25 years of experience in residential, which is not always, a nice, easy path. Residential can be really tough. Is that so many resumes are being read by machine read, that they're not even going in front of somebody's eyes, that they're looking for keywords. So some of that, you might need to get some help with somebody that can help you with your resume and identify the keywords that are probably going to be picked up by these machines that are evaluating the resumes when they get submitted. It's a sad testimony that we're at that point where people don't always look at resumes, but computers do. And so just even tweaking it a couple of times and resubmitting it or something like that, just keep trying. That would be my advice. It's it's a different kind of an environment now.
I'll just leave it at this. And if Eric wants to find me on LinkedIn,
And Regina,
I'll do the best I can to help him.
thank you very much, everyone. Regina also offered that the communication and problem-solving skills are transferable between residential and corporate. So somewhere between the language, definitely using your IFMA peers. There is help out there for you. And someone with 25 years of experience, my goodness, that is experience we want to make sure that we take advantage of. We're talking about how do we get people into the field. We've got someone who's in the field and looking for opportunities. So it's exciting. We can make those connections. So words matter, your resume matters, your network matters, which is another great strength that we have between IFMA and the foundation. Those relationships are huge. So I'm going to, Peggy, you had made a comment when we were preparing for this. You talked about FM being problem solving. It's a problem solving career, and talked about the strategic element. And FM being a strategic profession, sometimes it's thought of as being very tactical. Some people think of it as, well, it's just the wrench turning. Kind of what Laura had said, her early impression was. How do you respond to people who say, oh, it's really just, it's very tactical. It's not very strategic. What's your experience on that one?
Typically, what I would probably say to that is, it's only worthwhile if you're thinking in the longer term. You need to know what your outcome needs to be. If you're working in a corporation, they aren't in any space for just a week or for a year. They're in there for the long run in most cases. If they own the property, they have one type of interest. But even if they're a tenant, they have a need for your thinking to be longer term. We don't remodel offices every week. We don't turn things around on a short-term basis. And most of what we do is driven by some kind of a situation that needs resolution. So for me, it always feels like it is an ongoing evolution of integrating into the strategic direction as you're making day-to-day decisions, month-to-month decisions, or doing 5-year or 10-year planning. It all feeds into one another, and everything we do on a day-to-day basis may have an impact on that longer term.
Thank you for that, Peggy. Would anyone else like to comment on the strategic mindset FMs need to have? What we're looking for? How do you spot that as a would-be employer or someone who's educating others? How do you spot a strategic or cultivate a strategic mindset? I know, big question.
One of the things that I do in our capstone class, which is the finishing class, which we kick everybody out of the program and go work, is what's the difference, between management and leadership, and so that's where a lot of this comes into, is we try to get our students to think it's not management is what you might do every day. Leadership is what you're going to be doing tomorrow and the next day and the day after that and the year after that. And how do you engage that? So I think facility management is very much a strategic way of thinking, but a lot of it depends on where you are in sort of your career path, because you're not going to start off at the leadership position. You're going to start off at the managerial position and work yourself into being more strategic. But know that it's ultimately what you will likely end up doing, is being strategic in some way with some aspect of your facility or facilities. So, yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Go ahead, Keisha.
So the organization that I'm responsible for, we have we're hitting that 7,000 mark of associates, and it's all FM, all facilities management. So our strategy is always behind being strategic, right? So I know that sometimes folks might think that that's not a thing with the FM world, but the clients that we have expect us to be strategic and continuing to partner up with them on a strategic level. So this is something that it's amazing to see, because I'm exposed to so much in the field of the job that I do, and I partner up with so many leaders from FM and clients that are in the FM world, to see that being strategic, continuing to be strategic, aligning with the vision and missions of these companies and the company that I support, it's a continuing thing. It's never going to end. So when you're looking at the FM component, yes, you have that tech savvy part, you have the hands-on, the critical thinking. But the one thing about FM is always going to be a world of being strategic, because it's the only way that you're going to be able to accomplish, to align with what we're trying to really do. And it's really impacting. If people really know that FM, when you're fixing something or when you're greeting someone in the FM world on a hospitality point of view, you're making a difference in people's lives, right? You need something to work in order for you to continue to do the work. And if people will shift their minds, and those who are trying to get into that market and think a little bit like that, you're really going to make a difference in people's lives.
One of the things that I'm hearing young people being interested in these days is in our earth and our environment. Mm-hmm. And if you want something, a demonstration of not having thought strategically for a long time, I'm afraid the situation that we're in today with our overall environment is an awfully good demonstration of that. Young people are interested in making a difference going forward in the future. And our buildings and the activities that are taking place in those buildings will have a tremendous impact on how far we make it in regards to recovering for the damage that we've done over the years. So it's one of the aspects to be talking to our young people about, but it's also an aspect to be talking to our senior management about. As the laws and rules and regulations continue to change and get tighter moving forward, and we have to be prepared to be able to translate that into our operations and the activities we have going on in our environments.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peggy. And Carolyn McGarry of FM Pipeline wishes a happy belated Earth Day to all. Thank you for that, Carolyn. Appreciate that. And thank you, Peggy, for that comment. Yeah, for some, that's really going to be a strong motivator. We have another interesting comment that came. This one came from Rashik Barber. And he says, I often see that the integration of research opportunities within universities helps expose a lot of students and possible FM professionals to the industry. Having the opportunity to research different aspects of technology and hospitality related aspects of FM, the more exposure, often the better gravitational pull resonates within the prospect. So that's sort of linking research and interest to future opportunity. Which that may be a little more your territory, Peter, on the academic side. Do you have experience with linking that sort of research side to get exposure with FM professionals? Is that a place that you're playing in?
Actually, it is not. We are entirely a teaching college, and so we have no research facilities within the college that we are within the university. However, the university as a whole, University of Minnesota, does, of course, an enormous amount of research, not always within the facilities space. But the interesting thing is we host so many research facilities on campus, which Peggy obviously knows about, that those in and of themselves, the students being able to, for example, have an internship or a mentorship with folks in the university space that are managing these facilities could also trigger a lot of interest. But and unfortunately, research right now is under a little bit of attack at the university level. And so in terms of the funding sources, which is very, very unfortunate, but we're just trying to sustain right now from the university's perspective, whatever we have for research. So, but I don't
Sure.
play in it directly.
Gotcha. I'm going to move us to our final question. And we've had a little bit on this, but panelists, I'd love you to weigh in on this one. What opportunities do you see for the various stakeholders that we have in the facility management industry? So think broadly to address our current and evolving challenges. We certainly have challenges with things like funding, and the political environment changes a lot, and you have things that are the ground shifts, and we have to pivot. FM is very good at adapting from everything I've seen over my career. So what are the opportunities do we see for those stakeholders in helping us deal with these challenges as they come?
I can start, I guess, just as a chapter leader, and I touched on it before, and I know the rest of the panel kind of underlined it a little bit. I think there's a huge opportunity for localized collaboration between the industry, between education, between community-based organizations, right? Chapters like ours in Greater New York City, we're underutilized resources by far, right? We know the regional market, we have employer networks, we can rapidly pilot programs or even events that align with whatever workforce needs there are. There should definitely be more cross-sector partnerships, linking FM with trades, things in healthcare, mission critical, life sciences, sustainability, and research sectors, just to share kind of recruitment pipelines and maybe even credentialing pathways. And I think too, the national partners are really the employers, the folks, trying to find these folks, right? Supporting credentialing and mentorship efforts, but not just on a funding, but by volunteering, right? And hiring interns and showing up at community events. I guess what I'm saying is, not just in partnership, but, be a part of. And I think in being part of the local chapter, you definitely find it a lot easier to overcome these hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the challenges that we've faced is really finding that entry level opportunity for hire. And so being thoughtful about finding the right person instead of looking for certain experience or a knowledge of FM to come into the door with. And so making sure that they have a customer service focus, that they're obviously problem solvers, but that they're good under pressure, that they're curious, and really then mentoring and guiding them to find that passion in FM that they maybe didn't know they had. And so it's being really creative ourselves in who we're trying to seek out to fill that challenge.
Thank you, Laura. By the way, to those of you who are listening to this webinar, if you do have any questions that you want to enter into the chat, please feel welcome. We've got just a few more minutes left in our webinar time today, but we'll entertain questions as we can in the last few minutes. But I'll keep the discussion going with others who want to weigh in on those additional opportunities for stakeholders and engagement. I love what everyone is saying about engaging your chapter and engaging others, and drawing in through your personal relationships, people and their interest. I've found that people will not do something because they're given a list or they're told to by a paper or a dry recommendation, but they are motivated by people, by other people, by their engagement, by a passion you can spark, a conversation you can have.
One of the things that I've been really impressed by that I wasn't aware of actually when I was working in my career have been organizations like the one that Laura works for, who supports her in participating, will give her a day off to go and participate in judging a student competition, or will match her funding if she contributes And just like the foundation and any of our groups that are putting forth new activities, there's always funding that's needed. And so that's room for our employers and our other stakeholders to participate personally or through matching. But it's really exciting to me, coming from a career where I got to pay most of my own way, to have organizations today that are willing to step up and support their people. And Keisha, it sounds like your group is also by providing internships and that type of thing, even job shadowing opportunities that can be provided, not just for students, but Tim, I'm impressed by the program that you've been part of there in New York, in working with adults that are transitioning to new types of positions. And Peter, I know that you've done some great work over the years in encouraging individuals that you identified as having the real gift for the customer service and the curiosity that Laura mentioned, as well as the interest in the variety. I think that those of us that are in the industry can do a great deal of effort, and by first engaging individuals, be they student, be they co-workers, or be they children of our friends, in regards to what facility management is about. And then I love to see them getting energized and educated in regards to the overall world of facility management. I think we all have a role that we can participate in, and there's always a way for every one of us.
Love it, Peggy. We've got one question, and then I'm going to have you, I've got one last question for you all as we wrap up, and you know what it is. What is the one thing that you'd like to leave people with? So get your thoughts spinning on that one. Before we do that, I'm going to ask Jessica Liu's question. Jessica says, how best could someone with pre-construction residential background transfer into FM?
Wow, because I'm in that space. So I would say that look to take some additional classes that would get you in some sort of a facility management program. You look for an online program. That's one of the things that we offer, is all of our FM classes are online, and just build some critical skills in some of the other areas of facility management. But pre-construction is a great pathway into facility management all on its own. You may have to augment with a little bit more core knowledge, in like financial management, some of the technology pieces, so forth. But yes, it's a great start. Look for some additional educational opportunities is what I would say.
Thank you very much for that, Peter. I'm going to, I've been told that we have room for one more question. This is a big one. Time for one answer. This is from Anand Koda. What is the role of BIM in FM? So building information modeling technology. What is the role? Who wants to take that? Anyone? I do have an opinion if no one else does. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say it plays a critical role, but really only if it's actually carried through into operations. I mean, too often I think BIM is kind of treated as something for design and construction only, but for FM, it can really be a game changer if we get the right data and structure it right from the start. Just from an FM perspective, I mean, BIM gives us a living model of the building, right? And that can support everything from preventative maintenance planning to asset tracking to space optimization. And if you're making or managing a high profile or high performance facility, especially one that's heavy on infrastructure or systems, BIM, kind of helps you not just see where something is, but what it is, how it was installed, and what it's connected to. But the catch is, it only works if FM is brought to the table early. right? We need to be involved in setting up the data structure so it reflects operational realities, not just design intent. And that's the gap we still see in a lot of projects, right? So for me, BIM's role in FM is about bridging the handoff from construction to operations and turning what was once a static drawing into a dynamic tool that really supports decision making throughout the building life cycle.
100%. Thank you for that, Tim. I'm going to bring us home with the one thing that you'd like to leave people with today. Peter, we're going to start with you.
Education. You can either get it at school or you can get it at work, but no matter what you do, be curious.
Excellent. Thank you. Keisha.
Don't give up. It's a world full of opportunities in FM. And remember, it's an industry that's growing. So if you can't find something now, you will find it soon.
Very good. And use that network. Peggy, you are next.
Talk to people, volunteer, get involved, reach out, help other people find their way. We can't do it. One person can't do it for the whole crew. Get involved with your local chapter. Organizations or opportunities. We'd welcome help with the Facilitathon anytime, anywhere. Just try to share what you're doing and the value of it with the people that you know. And you'll be surprised how they'll pass it on.
Thank you, Peggy. Tim.
Oh, I was going to say the same exact thing, right? The best path to happiness, I think, is through the service of others. Get out there, volunteer, reach out to your local chapter.
Thanks, Tim. Laura, bring us home.
Yeah, I was also going to do a plug for Facilitathon. So, building that network is so important, giving back and trying get students interested or even aware of the great opportunities through FM, and finding opportunities like Facilitathon is an amazing way to do that. And I think though, even if you have a degree program in your area, making sure that your employees that might be a part of your team are aware of that and maybe coming back as adult learners and getting their certificate to help advance their careers as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Laura. And panelists, thank you so much for joining us today. We are at the end of our time, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We so appreciate everyone's time here, and those who attended, thank you for being part of this lively discussion. Know that we've got great resources through IFMA and the IFMA Foundation. Facilitathon is an excellent competition if you'd like to volunteer, but consider those relationships that we have throughout the IFMA network as some of your best tools that you can use. If you don't know where to go and what to do, talk to people that you know in IFMA. Great network, great opportunities in the FM profession. So thank you so much for being here today. And we welcome you at our next webinar and our next conference opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.